whatever we think we're doing for the next 9 months, whatever you think you're involved in for the next 9 months, it is absolutely critical that we support it is not just in our own district, but in the districts where these folks bring that talent. It's absolutely vital. I made myself available, most phone number. I'm more than willing to meet with their team, give them what little I know, and it's humbling to be able to see these folks step forward. When I was seeing them come up here and speak, I remember when I ran for state senate, and kind of an interesting deal is, you run for state senate against somebody who has all the money in the world, and you go through and do that, and then you along the way, you knock on just about every door that's possible to knock on, and you go through this process where first you're really fired up. And then the days drag on, and the days drag on, and the days drag on, and you realize that you're going to have about $25,000 to spend, and they're going to spend whatever it takes. Okay, so you get into a spot where you're running against really the machine that's already in place. So you're going along, and the days get hotter and hotter. I think God will forgive me to tell. And you're doing it, and you're wondering why, and when you knock on the doors, and all of a sudden what you really want to tell them is when they say, well, why are you running? You say, I have no idea. I don't know why I'm running. My family's out at the lake, and they're doing what they do, and I don't know why I'm here. And you're dragging your kids along, and there's only so many ice cream cones you can promise them. And then they're sick and tired of even looking at you. They don't want you to win anymore. They just want to be done with this. And I remember going with my son, who's 4 years old, and I'm dragging him along, because it's great. You take your kid, you know how that works. They talk to you a few more minutes, and they're like, oh, that's a cute son. And my son, we're going along, we're like, well, we're going to get ice cream. When we're done, we're going to get ice cream. And so he's, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom. Well, it's okay, well, it'll be fine. We keep going along, and going along, and going along. I'm going to tell you this, so it's going to be on video. I know you'll have to edit this out. So I'm going to tell you just privately. My wife would kill me if I told you this. So I'm talking to this guy in the corner. He's got a nice corner lot. I'm really working to get the spot for the sign. The 4x8 Todds Coursers with the big smiling face. You know the deal. And there I am, and we're talking, and all of a sudden the guy kind of looks over, and I'm like, I'm in sort of dread at that moment. Turn around, my 4-year-old son has dropped trout. He's taking a leak in this guy's flower bed. Actually doing it right there. There's my campaign, right there. That's what it was, right there. I'll tell you, I got the sign spot. Okay? That's what it works. So I'm going to tell you, hold fast, stay in the race, fight it out. All the way to the end. You'll do it with door to door and hand to hand and relationship to relationship. That's so many patriots, so many conservatives who are fighting to save the country. And we're here. We realize that our families are not here. And a lot of our families don't even understand really what's at stake. They're still veiled. And I myself, a lot of my family, my wife gets it. My wife actually is more conservative than I am, which is, I know that sounds crazy. She thinks I'm a moderate. Because I'm friendly to the other side, okay? She considers that moderate, okay? Yeah, we have to talk to her about this. So we don't always agree on stuff, my tact or the way that I go about things. And, she's a wonderful lady, and today I gave them the choice of either doing what was a fun family event at my brother's house for our church, or they could come with me to the Soaring Eagle. And so they didn't come, and I had to beg my mother, Mom, where are you? Okay, this lady over here, when I hug her, you think she's my girlfriend, she's actually my mother. Just so you know. Yeah, she aged really well, and I didn't. That's how that worked, okay? So, so we are developing what's happening. What's happening here is we're developing really the conservative caucus for the Republican Party. That's what's going on, okay? It's not that I'm doing it. It's not that I'm in charge of it. It's that these relationships are being developed organically. It is happening. And when I came through the chair race, I got done with the state senate thing, and I'm just going to tell you, and this is only my story. When I got through with the state senate thing, and after that whole event, and we lost that by essentially in 2 counties. No one from my district, from my county, had ever held that state senate seat. Okay, so when we lost it to somebody who was an incumbent on the other side. We lost it by, it was about 1,500 votes if you split it together. And the problem was, is I ended up in a county where I'd taken 85% of the vote in a three-way race, outspent completely with me. As a matter of fact, that night they announced that I won it. When I got there in the morning to my office, knowing I hadn't won it and hadn't slept, I got there at my office at 7 a.m. cheering that I'd won it. So I spent the next year, people came to me one after another, either one, thinking I was the state senator and really upset about the way the state was going, or two, really upset about the fact that I hadn't won it and they'd all voted for me. And so anywhere I went, the gas station, anywhere I went to the grocery store, that's how it works when you're a candidate, you're fighting for liberty and freedom. And you folks, these folks that are stepping forward into this courageous spot where they're going to go out and they're going to become candidates, and it is a special burden. It's a special burden that they're taking on. So we have to do our very best to support it. Whatever you do in your normal Tea Party or in your normal district, I'm telling you to branch out. Take that step, branch out, go into these other areas and make sure that you're connecting. After I lost that state senate race, I really didn't know what that was about. And God He's tricky like that. You have to, because you're pretty sure the Lord has called you to do it. You do it. You get to the end, and He kind of pulls it away. And I spent really the next year, sort of focused on my own family. Kind of, sequestered myself away. Whenever I went out to get gas, like I said, it was just like that. And people would just keep coming up. And what happened for me is I started to pull away even further. Kind of funny is that people wanted me to be involved and not walk away from that leadership spot. And for me, I realized about a year afterwards, and I'm going to walk down here because I'm feeling kind of trapped up there. You guys are all looking at me. It was kind of a crazy situation is that the people wanted me to continue to fight for liberty and freedom, just no longer as a candidate because I wasn't running. And I didn't get that, and I stepped away from it. And it was a sort of for myself, there was a grieving that I knew that I had not held up to the responsibilities that I was supposed to in that. So I stepped away. And so I didn't know really what that leadership spot looked like because I wasn't elected. It's somebody else's problem. I had to go back to making money. I had to take care of my family. I'd been away from them every single night, going to every single spaghetti dinner and every pancake breakfast in places that you wouldn't even go or even know about in your own county. And you had to do it. And, and it's not going to see people like you who are passionate about saving the country. These are people who are not passionate about saving the country. They're just not. And you're trying to motivate or educate them on how to do it. And so myself, I pulled away for that year, and I came away with sort of really that failure of responsibility that I had in that moment. I did. So I get the calls to run for State Board of Education, which really was just a prelude to running for chair. I worked in the background of the Right to Work project a little bit, being involved in all the background of that. I probably played a 1/10 of 1/100th of 1% in the Right to Work project. So I'm not going to give you any sort of indication that I was huge in that, but I was involved all the way along the way in the meetings that happened through that process. And it was an amazing process. But as I went through that, it was all setting up for running for chair. And I think most of you already know that story. We went through, got through the chair. There's a moment on the stage. They asked me to speak. I told them that's not really smart because I'm the loser in this, and you shouldn't have me speak. And I'm really undone at that moment. And God does something at that moment, and people recognize that there was a moving of the Holy Spirit that happened in that spot. Recognize it. But there was another group that was there that I started getting emails immediately. That your ego, that you shouldn't have done it, there was arrogance, you'll never be anything in this party. And those people, what I figured out along the way is that, and my mother has told me this, she said, if people throw arrows or shoot arrows at you and they stick, then it's probably got some truth. Okay? But if they don't stick, then it's not true. Just go on with your life and keep doing the call that's on your life. That's what you're supposed to do. You can't, every time you get a dart in your back as you're trying to save the country, you get a little bit concerned about what people think. So I got done with the chair race, and when I got done, people started calling, of course, the people in this room and all over the state. It was It was hundreds of people, calls and emails and encouragement. And what happened after that, they said, don't go away. What they didn't know is I'd already went away for the state senate thing. So God had prepared me in that spot, and now I was in a new spot. And what I wasn't going to do, the one thing I wasn't going to do was go away. Because I felt I had a responsibility to the people who had supported me. And most of you know that. And I said, look, if you have a Tea Party meeting, you have a 912 meeting, you have a C4L, whatever it is, and you need a speaker, I'll come. Okay, I'll come. It didn't matter how far it was. I just said I would go. And I told my wife, I said, look, I have a responsibility to make sure that I do this and that I go forward. And I believe what I recognize, we recognize some things coming out of that chair race, that there was a failure of relationships in the various pockets around the conservative movement. So there wasn't a trust and confidence being built. See, in your own groups, if it's in Gladwin, let's say, in District 4, or if it's in Clinton, or if it's in Barrie, or if it's in some other spot, in your own group you have relationships. But when you get sort of to this spot, like this representation here, there's a lack of real unity in the movement. And so what I envisioned, and I said, wouldn't it be awesome if we could start to get those people who are passionate about the issues, the statewide issues, and really moving the conservative movement forward, that those people started to attend each other's groups. Not just in their own county, where they're looking at the Tea Party this and the Tea Party that, but the Tea Party, the 912, and the C4L groups. What happens if they started to collect together the leaderships of those groups? And how would that look? And really, how is that going to happen? So people said, the rumor started to get out that I was meeting with people, okay? And I would tell people, I said, don't say anything. Let's not do any pictures. Let's not post it to Facebook. Because immediately people are going to start to say, hey, he's running, this is all about, he's going to primary the governor, he's running for president, he's going to be the king of the universe, and that's what he's planning to do. There would be all kinds of things that would start to happen. We actually got through probably about, I would say it was between 45 and 50 events where I went and just at the Mama's Kitchens, and we sat and visited, and I started to kind of hear what was going on in each one of these districts, and just started to get a sense of really what we could do as a movement. And I can tell you, I wanted to stop. I wanted to be done, but the Lord just continued to draw me further down into that. And it was a sort of a bizarre thing, is that you get to these spots and you start to see that really there are some amazing people doing amazing things in these Tea Parties, the 912s, and the Liberty Movement, and I started to explain to them what really happens and why the state party is the way it is. And I think we all get it in bigger terms, is that we have really moderate or left money funding the state party, and they're funding sort of a crony capitalist or, anti-traditional social agenda. That's kind of the idea. So the party is funded in that mechanism. See, people didn't recognize when I ran for chair, and most people don't understand, is that the state party is a separate organization. It's separate from the counties, okay? So we get invited to their convention, when in reality what we're supposed to do is just cheer for the people they put up for us. That's what we're supposed to do. If it all works well, that's how it happens for them. They just pick the candidates. Well, when you ran for chair and they said, hey, it's not going to, you're not going to be anything as party if you do this, I knew what was going to happen is if I actually won it, okay, and if we ever found out that I won it, those are two different things, just so you know. If I actually won it, I didn't know that I'd ever know that we'd won it. And even if that happened, the state party doesn't own the building, and in other places what they've done is they've stripped the building out, taken the list, emptied the bank account, and given you a burned out building and said, here you go, here's the party. So knowing that's really what we were facing, I myself had to say that the Lord was really drawing that out, and that conversation had to happen. It had to. Because you can't allow them to use fear to keep us from moving forward in the conservative movement. You can't. You have to move forward. Absolutely. So we get to the spot and we're through all of that. We're finally through that, and we go through all these conversations, and it starts to happen. And I'm sitting with people and going to people's houses, and And there started to be really sort of a sense that really there is a group of people that are passionate about the idea of connecting. And most of you don't know this, but in 2 districts, there were only 2 districts that I did not get in to speak in when I ran for chair. Now, the folks over here know, and some of the folks back there know. It was 4 and 7, okay? What happened is those are the 2 districts that we knew by our data that I had to speak in. And as I came to the door, they gavelled out of the meeting so that I couldn't speak to their groups because they were owning them about 70% of the delegates going in. So those 2 areas, they controlled them. So what they did is, as they saw me coming down the hall, they simply made a motion and gavelled out so that I couldn't actually speak. That's kind of the way that happens in the background. There's a whole bunch of other things that go along with that. So inside of it, what you have to do if you're going to try and move things forward, you have to have a permanent group of people, and this is the spot. You have to have a permanent group of people who are going to think on the higher things of the conservative movement. You have to do what Dudenhofer, I call him Dudenhofer. Dave is an awesome guy. If you haven't had a chance to shake his hand or give him a hug,
he just lied.
Please do so. And Tony DeMott, amazing guy. And go ahead, give him a round of applause. And Cindy, the 3 of them put this together. The 3 of them did it, and I just like saying his name, Dudenhofer. It's just a cool name. We're hoping that he'll run for Wayne State, just kind of what was the thinking, so he was on there. And inside of that, they put this together, and really the thinking is that we have to have people who are going to be the permanent understanding or whipping of trying to bring forward the conservative movement as it relates to the state party and in your own districts. And some of these districts are very large. One is huge. One is more connected, honestly, though, than the other districts. Okay, because the bridge. And they drive down state together, and they stay at each other's houses, and they're kind of very connected. Very connected. And they usually deliver all their delegates, or try to deliver all their delegates to, obviously, the conservative cause. Where you have issues are in, like, 4. And I'm getting way into the weeds here, if you don't know 4, and that's Camp's district. And what they try to do is keep those pieces apart. And Dave Camp owns the district, and everybody that's with Dave Camp, and they just own it. And what I'm encouraging is that 4 needs help, okay? If you're going to move the conservative movement forward, you have to deal with District 4. You have to deal with 7, which is just a liberal bastion inside the Republican Party. You have to deal with it. So inside of this, I'm telling you all of this, and we've gotten way into the weeds on some of this stuff, but it's really, really important that you understand that we have to have a group of people who are going to connect between the groups. It's not enough that you're in your own group. You have to connect inside these groups. The C4L folks, when it comes to rules, they got it down. And we need to get that tutoring, that education, and that understanding so that we understand the games in the background. They have a well of knowledge from around the country of how this stuff works, and you guys needed to be exposed to that. I got some emails as we were coming forward here today, and they were saying, hey, Todd, I'm a little uncomfortable because the C4L people are against social issues. So some of you saw my posts on that as we were coming into this, and essentially the idea is that if we're going to expand the federal government for our social issues, expect the other guys to expand it for their social issues on the other side. So that's how the C4L people think about it. Many of them, a good many of them, are pro-life and also pro-traditional marriage, but they're in C4L because they focus on fiscal issues. So we do have a lot more overlap in the way that we are personally than necessarily their group. C4L is focused on fiscal issues. That's what they're focused on. And they do a great job of it, a great job. And our state can really benefit, and we can benefit in the Tea Party movement, and also in the 912s. We can benefit by partnering with some of these folks locally. Okay, and if you can get down to like where they do their training, their precinct delegate training, the token lounge, I think it's in Westland or something, that they do some training there occasionally, make it to these groups. Connect with these people. Okay, because when you get into the statewide fight, when you do that, it's really important to understand that it's critical for putting forward a statewide conservative agenda. I have to go and switch now. We're going to kind of dovetail just for a second here. People have asked me, they said, are you running? That seems to be the question everywhere. Are you running? I mean, I'll hear the soaring eagle, and people they don't even know me. I'm at the counter and they say, I heard you're running for governor. No, I'm not running for governor. They're not even attending the event, and somehow my name comes up. And I want to kind of look at this. We have issues inside of our issues, okay? And generally we can get together when it's an issue. When it gets to be a candidate, there's all the dividing that happens. And I just want to make sure that we as a group, all three, Pow Wow, C4L, and Alliance, that's the three main groups that are here. And I'm gonna lean on the people really inside the Pow Wow, the ones that I've met with, that I know. And I'm gonna ask you to make sure, and this is to me personally, we cannot mushroom our people and only present one candidate. It's wrong, okay? That's happened to me. I've been blacklisted from a group of organizations where I can't get in to speak because they supported Showstack the last time around. I don't want that situation. I don't want that situation inside of any of this movement, because really it is offensive to the idea of us being conservative activists. When it comes to people and candidates, we have to make sure that we open the door, especially in these big races, to allow those candidates to come forward, to allow our membership inside the groups to determine which candidates they are going to support for themselves. It's absolutely critical. That's my I haven't decided where I'm running, and it could be that I see the time and she's going to grab me with the shepherd's hook, but it's kind of important to finish this. Wes is running, he's announced. I'm asking those people that are in the Pow Wow to make sure that you open that door to allow him to come and speak. And any of these other candidates that are there. It's absolutely critical that those candidates are allowed and given that platform. If we don't do that, we start to divide in little pieces like this. It starts to happen. See, I don't have any fear, and you shouldn't have any fear for me of running against the Lieutenant Governor. That's actually the last thing that I'm concerned with. I don't have any fear against running against the Lieutenant Governor and Wes. But Wes needs the opportunity to bring his campaign forward. He's in the race. So myself, looking at this going forward, I'm going to make my decision somewhere between December and January. It's going to be made during that time. I'm going to sit down with my family. I dedicated this year to bringing forward the movement as best I could. That's what I was dedicated to doing, and I'm finishing that out. At the end of that, we'll make the decision of what we're supposed to do. But if you can, and I would lean on the Alliance, I would lean on you folks and make sure that your door is open. It hasn't been open to me. Open it. We need to have these delegates having at least some amount of understanding between the groups, allowing that to happen. So when I hear people saying, hey, Todd, we're already supporting you, I think, I'm not running yet. Okay, we have to make sure that we open the doors and make sure the candidates are coming forward. And I would say that in regards to the situation with the Lieutenant Governor, if I get in, we'll fight it out. That's the way it works. And then we'll shake hands and we'll come together at the end. That's how it's supposed to happen. But if we're building a movement, we have to understand that together we have to be able to present those people that come from the Tea Party, that come from the C4L groups, and we have to give them that venue. I would simply say it like this. You present the person, you say, I haven't made any decision on who I'm supporting yet, but this person is running for this position, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to speak. So that will help, not only in the issues in the background, as far as our unity building, it will also build the statewide effort to try and turn over and make the Republican Party a truly conservative, principled party. And that's what we're all fighting for. And what we do beyond that is we're here because we're trying to save the Republic. And we can't get bogged down in these little details about personalities. So I'm asking all of you, every single one here, to make sure that we're working towards unity. We're building those bridges. We're shaking hands with people that we've been at once opposed to. Because the left inside the Republican Party, they get past it. They know where they're at. They get done with the war, they react together. Okay, you saw it with Cali. They were all upset. Cali was all about, Medicaid expansion. And they got done, what happened? They're all endorsing it. Days later, endorsing him. That's why I came out with those posts and said it. Look, it is absolutely hypocritical on that side. On our side, we need to do a better job of forgiving, of showing grace and showing mercy and getting back together. It's absolutely critical. So on that note, I'm just asking that we as a movement, we can take the party. We can do it. I don't have any doubt at all that we can do it. And I think as we move forward one step at a time, just one step at a time, we're going to find that these relationships that are being built and that confidence that's happening, the confidence inside this room, that it won't really matter. We'll put forward the best candidates because we'll have proved them and vetted them, and we'll have spent time with them, and we'll know them. And that's absolutely critical for us to be really putting forward our best foot. And so I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank every one of you for the work you're doing and the sacrifices you're making. God bless each and every one of you, and I thank you for giving me these few minutes. Any extra minutes. Thank you. Thank you.